So he had $1 million of talent, but he only had $500,000 access through his ATM card, so to speak.
Yeah.
Where Y.E. Yang, the eventual winner, only had $700,000 worth of talent, but only because of the nerves of the moment and the opportunity to make history, he had like $80,000 worth of interference. So on that final day, Y.E. Yang, not nearly as talented, certainly would never be confused with Tiger Woods. His talent broke the day at $620,000 worth of talent. And that's how he beat a $500,000 version of Tiger Woods, who nobody could fathom.
Hi, welcome to Say More Words, a podcast that was created to emphasize the human experience through stories. I hope that you come here to learn, to expand, and most importantly, learn how to say more words. Speak your story, speak your truth, boo-boo. We're so happy you're here. Well, friends, welcome back to Say More Words. I'm so excited that you're here. I'm so excited to have my guest here today, Virgil Herring. He is a new friend of mine that I met in 2024, and I'm just really, really excited about this conversation. Before we start it, though, and we introduce him, Virgil, can you tell us what the song of the day is?
The song of the day is from my favorite band in the world, Tool. And
Yes.
the song is Pushit on the Salival album, which is the slower version, which happens to be the greatest song ever.
Yes. Ugh. I love it.
Are you a Tool fan?
Yes.
Oh,
I am a weird, I come from the
sister
Midwest.
from another mister. Hell yes.
Yes. I love a lot of weird stuff. Like, and I'm one of those people that cried at Metallica's tour last year. Like, I'm just.
You are the GOAT.
Yeah,
Love it.
I love it all. Well, friends, this is Virgil. I met him in Nashville in 2024. I had the great opportunity to hear him speak at one of the conferences for Black Diamond Club. And he is one of those people that when he talks, you just want to listen. Like, you just want to hear what he has to say. And then I had the opportunity to spend some time with him in Las Vegas with our friend Dave. And I'm just really excited to have him here. I'm going to let him introduce himself in whatever way he would like to, but just know that today's conversation is going to be one of my favorites. So Virgil, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, Tamika, one, thank you for having me on. And you've been one of the pleasures of my 2024 to get a chance to know you. So I'm honored to be on your podcast. For those of you out there that don't know, I became the first PGA professional to ever do a TED Talk in 2023. That TED Talk kind of catapulted me into a new stratosphere. I was on the Golf Channel for 9 years. I do all the golf coverage for CBS Nashville here. And I've written 3 best-selling books, and I have 2 podcasts. And the one that's gotten me the most publicity is my long-form podcast called On the Verge, as in like the first 4 letters of my name. And it's a deep dive into what makes people great, because that's really what I'm about. And that's the long and short of it right there.
His career is super impressive. And I think so I'm just going to go deep. We're just going to dive into kind of why I wanted to have you on the podcast, because I had the opportunity to interview Virgil in Las Vegas, and he said something that was super powerful, and that was the power of play. So you've heard that he has worked with the PGA. He is a bigwig in golf, and that's one of the things that gets lost in adults is the power of play and mindset. So can you tell my audience a little bit about you, the way that you view the work that you do, the people you help, and mindset and play?
Well, one of the first things that I did, based my TED Talk around, was the idea that I didn't want to be just known as somebody that fixed golf swings. I want to be bigger than some golf teacher. So my TED Talk was the process that I use to make people great at golf. And then it just so happens that the process is the process, no matter what it is that you're doing. There aren't many things that you can vary off of if you're trying to be great. So one of the first things that I noticed is most people stop playing games at the age of 18, at the end of their high school life. That might be the last time they ever play an organized sport or game. And this could actually be music as well, or in the arts. If you're really lucky, say in the top 2.5%, you get a chance to extend that into like 22 or 23 because you get to play a sport in college. And if you're super elite, the last 0.5 percentile, you might get lucky enough to play a game all the way into your mid to late 30s. Golf does allow that to be a little bit longer than that. But one of the things that's important to remember about playing games is that we get a chance to learn the hard knocks, the hard lessons of life through play. And more times than not, that lesson gets learned in a third person format, in which I would always say, like, if I was playing when I was a kid, I loved basketball. But every time I lost the game or one-on-one game or I was on a losing team, I didn't say I lost the game. Larry Bird lost the game or Dr. J lost the game because that's who I was pretending to be.
Yeah.
Didn't mean that I didn't leave it all on the court. It just meant that the lesson that I learned about how I need to do a better job rebounding, or I need to play tougher defense, or what have you. I didn't take that as a first person personal indictment. It became a third person indictment in which you learn the lesson from the blimp. You can see it from above. And so golf, I'm not sure there's a game that is more closely intertwined with life than golf. One, it takes a lot of time, so does life. Many of the best intentions don't go exactly as planned. And one of the hardest things to wrap your head around in life is if you're a goal driven, successful minded human, to prepare to the best of your ability, execute to the best of your ability, have built in adaptabilities to counter the storms, and your very best is still not good enough. Those are one of the hardest days of our lives, but it's much better to practice resiliency in a game than it is to practice resiliency in the throes of the matter, whatever that matter is. So my corporate coaching has turned into this thing where, yes, they're coming to learn how to play golf better, whether it be through the swing or how to manage the golf course or manage themselves better. But at the end of probably the fourth or fifth hole, we start to see that the same interferences that occur on the golf course that impact their performance negatively and or positively are showing up in their life.
Mm.
And it gives them an opportunity, because most people that play golf that would be coming to see me, it is their favorite thing to do. They have a level of passion about it. So when they think about preparing for the big member guest or the big tournament they're getting ready to play, they do that with a level of zest and vigor because it is something that really matters to them. But I often ask them, do they attack their job now with that kind of zest and vigor? Because maybe they're getting too complacent to the job, or it's a home issue where maybe they need to remind themselves that every day is a very important day for not just the spouse but the kids, and don't get stuck in a rut just because it's consistent. Be always challenging yourself, and that's what golf does for us. So when you open up or peel back the layers of the game and show them in the mirror, so to speak, how much that resembles either their business life or their family life. And many times that may be coming because they're so upset about how their life is going or their business is going. But to be reminded, if they look at it all, maybe they're doing way better than they think they're doing. And also, there are people that are struggling and they don't know where to look. And that's what I end up having to do all the time when I'm coaching golf, is like, people have a very good understanding of what they want to do. They can't figure out what it is that they're not doing while trying to do it. And sometimes that's why everybody needs a mentor. Nobody ascends to the top by themselves. And I just
Amen.
like to be the conduit to fun learning of lessons instead of the pain of learning the lessons, in the real world at the moment. It's a little bit different being able to doing your favorite sport.
One of the things in the work that I do with people when looking at their mindset is, I start to tap into that 6-year-old brain. So I'll have Legos and we'll start playing with those, or we'll start coloring to kind of tap into that version. Do you find that because you are bringing people into a space of play, that they are truly more open to having those deep conversations than if you were to just walk into a conference room.
Without a doubt. And I think that that's part of my, what I almost call like my hack, my neuro hack, is
Yeah.
that I put them outside, which externalizes them and makes them appear small to the world, versus maybe just being in a room makes them feel big to the world. It makes the problems appear to be bigger and more tense. But when you're out in the vast open space and you spend a little bit of time just staring in the horizon, it minimizes the ego of you, and externalizes how
Hmm.
maybe it'd be a good idea for us to be vulnerable a little bit more, because we're really just a small grain of sand in this huge, gigantic universe. And oftentimes we live our life thinking we're this gigantic boulder. And I think that one of the things that I love about what I get a chance to do is that being in nature, having the sun on you or the wind in your face or hearing the ocean waves crashing, there's something about that that kind of trips the right side of the brain on and makes you a little more open and accessible to other ideas, because adaptability for my sport is critical, because the wind blows, the temperature change can affect how far the ball flies. And they got different lies, different types of grass. I mean, there's a lot of moving parts, just like there is in life. And at the end of the day, one of the most important parts is learning how to be adaptable and having strategies to continue on the execution of trying to win. But maybe you have to go to game plan D, E, or F. But the people who are the most prepared are almost always the ones that win. And preparation has to not only have your best game plan intact, but knowing full well that whether we're talking about an animate issue, like you're trying to beat somebody, or an
Mm.
inanimate victory, which would be maybe conquering your personal fears, your triggers, or other people's issues. Either way, you're able to do so in the right frame of mind, and that is one of the cool tricks of life. And I get a chance to do it through a game.
Yeah, that is so cool to be able, and I didn't even think about that, but I tell people go outside and ground yourself, but you put them, you're like, you're going to do this here in this space. What would you say is maybe not the biggest revelations that comes out of the time with you for people, but what do you think some of your greatest breakthroughs or aha moments have been?
I would say that it's irrefutably this: you cannot outperform your self image.
Ooh,
By defining your self image is all of the gifts that God gave you, minus the interferences you put in front of it. So the interferences subtract from what you could be. At the end of the day, you can't outperform who you deep down inside believe you are, and you will always regress. So if you have an imposter syndrome, or you have this mindset that everything goes wrong for me right when I'm about ready to be successful, all you're doing is showing that your self-image is not matching what God gave you, and you're interfering with yourself. And my job is to catch it through self-talk. Body language is a really sneaky one, because people, I always say, like, animals that walk with their head down get eaten, right? So to be able to
ooh,
walk with your head up and your shoulders back, one, that externalizes you because you're looking the horizon, but it also, we already have all the science about how that body language looks and what that does to the psyche and the mind by just walking like that. So it's a triple whammy of animals that walk with their head down get eaten. So keep your head up and shoulders back. That gives you the positive um, vibe of your body language, and it externalizes your vision and puts your right side of your brain fully intact, which is ultimately about staying present. Now,
yeah.
what is presence? Presence is huge in this particular situation, because nervousness and or pressure with presence is one of the first indicators or the first environments that allow flow state to occur. You
Mm,
cannot be in flow state if you're ahead of yourself, worrying about what's about to happen, what could happen, what might happen, and it's not going to do you any good about what just happened. And what you can't rewind the tape, and you can't press fast forward, so you might as well just press play. And of all the things that I have learned is that people almost always, if they're performance minded, are anxiety driven, futuristic thinkers that interfere with their presence greatness. Not many people that thrive, but some, not many though, thrive while still pondering past failures. But
Yeah.
most people struggle with the future and the fear of failing again. And most people really have a bad relationship with the word fail. And when I factor all of those things in, what are your interferences? What is those things are knocking you out of immersive presence? How do I take them off your plate? And the ones that I can't take off your plate, that just means that your skill set hasn't matched your mindset. And all we have to do is make everything add up so that there's no interference other than the elements that are based around the game itself, whether it's life or golf or what have you. And
Yeah.
then you are the best that you can be. That's the sneaky stuff.
Mm.
So one of the most this is one of my favorite ways to explain why you should be grinding every day, and why some people who think, well, I'm never going to be as good as so and so, or I'm not as smart, or I'm not as talented as X, Y, or Z. I always say it like this. Let's just say that God gave you $1 million worth of talent, and He gave my competitor $700,000 of talent. Well, this is one of my favorite references. Tiger Woods is the greatest golfer that's ever walked the planet. In 2009, after Saturday's round of the PGA Championship, he was winning, and at that point had never, ever lost while leading going into the last day, ever, which is unbelievable.
Mm.
But that night, he received a phone call from National Enquirer stating that he had been caught in all the things that made his life a little bit got out of sorts in 2009. And that if he wasn't willing to sign up and do this GQ magazine shoot, they were going to expose him. So that final round, he was really bothered. He had very strange mannerisms, noticeably
Yeah.
frustrated and angry. So he had $500,000 worth of interference. So he
Mm.
had $1 million of talent, but he only had $500,000 access through his ATM card, so to speak.
Yeah.
Where Y.E. Yang, the eventual winner, only had $700,000 worth of talent, but only because of the nerves of the moment and the opportunity to make history, he had like $80,000 worth of interference. So on that final day, Y.E. Yang, not nearly as talented, certainly would never be confused with Tiger Woods. His talent broke the day at $620,000 worth of talent, and that's how he beat a $500,000 version of Tiger Woods,
Tiger Woods.
who nobody could fathom. But it just goes to show that if you show up every day, we're all humans. We all make mistakes. We all have things that happen that can interfere. And if you don't leave a place setting at your table for opportunity, when opportunity knocks and you don't have a place setting there, it doesn't look like you've been waiting for it. But if you have a place setting ready and the opportunity knocks and it looks like you've been waiting for it all along, it comes down and sits right beside you. And that's why you have to play the game. You have to play this game called life. You might not be the most talented at
Mm.
whatever it is that you're doing every single day. But if the stars line up and that one day you stayed committed to what it is that you do and you followed your process, and other people who have been given more gifts that particular moment have also been given more interferences, and you can execute your plan and finish the race, you reap the reward. And that's why we play this game called life.
Mm. Y'all, I mean, Virgil, I could listen to you talk all day, every day. I love the way that you describe situations. I love your I don't want to say quirky because you don't seem like a quirky type of person, but I love the way that you describe things. And gosh, that's the best way to put show. That's the best way I've ever heard it put, to just show up.
Well,
Show up.
thank you. I think that to do what I do, you have to be a storyteller. And when
Yes.
you become a good storyteller and the person's listening correctly, you can put them in the zone because you can basically paint it. They're almost seeing the picture you're painting for them in
Yes.
their eyes, and then they drift along in the story with you. And when you appropriately use neurolinguistic programming, you speak in a correct way that draws people in, makes the story kind of make people want to lean in. Like that's one of the sneaky
Yeah.
tricks of people that are really good about talking to you is that when they're talking to you, they speak in such a way that there's enough pauses and enough make you wonder you lean in to see what's coming next. And when
Yeah.
people lean in, that's a powerful statement. When people lean in, you have them. And of all the things that I would be saying, I get asked to lead a lot. I get asked to
Yeah.
coach people, but I always say that you have to touch their heart before you ask for their hand. And that's all the things that I try to do is that I try to touch your heart before I ask for your hand. And that's really important when it comes to being a leader.
And I think for you as an individual as well, what I really appreciate about you, and you said earlier, is that you are present. And so when we get the opportunity to be in your presence and to talk to you, it is that person, whoever is in front of you, is one of the most important people on the planet. And you naturally lean into every conversation. And that's what I appreciate about you so much too. On top of your knowledge, is that you are a very powerful person. You have all these accolades, but you are at the core of you're human, and you see other humans, and it's very, very powerful. And that's one of the reasons why I'm so very thankful that I got to meet you last year and I get to be in your space. And hopefully that in 2025 we get to be on a couple of different stages this year, and I get to see a little bit more. We're going to Scotland for a golf trip this year, and I just am so very thankful for who you are in my life, because you see individuals, and I'm just very thankful to be one of those.
Well, I think it's important that everybody knows, like, you should know that you're very worth seeing, right? I
Mm-hmm.
know that you give a lot, you put a lot out, but sometimes people who give a lot out don't get a lot back.
Yeah.
And one of all the things, because I would probably say for a while I felt like that. But what I could control is that if I found somebody that I enjoyed their time and I felt the energy was good, I remind them like I would have wanted to be reminded that,
Mm,
hey, I see how much you pour into people. And I don't
yes.
know how much people are pouring back into you, but I see you over there and you're killing it and I'm proud of you. And of all the like you may be a lot of things, but you dole out incredible positive energy.
Oh, thank
And
you.
I get like I said, I would put you in a very short list of the top 5 to 7 people I met in 2024. And
Yeah.
it's because you emanate the kind of positivity that most people want in their life. And you should be at least be reminded occasionally that you're outstanding.
Oh, thank you. That's definitely, you're right. You are 100% right that sometimes we just need to hear it. And I appreciate those words. That changed my whole day. Thank you.
Oh, my pleasure.
Well, Virgil, I am so very thankful for your time. I'm so thankful that you're here. For the audience, we are going to put in the show notes all of the ways that you can follow him. We're going to put the link to his TED Talk and any of the things that he has coming up. I highly recommend. We have a golf tournament coming up in Scotland. If you are interested in golfing in Scotland with us, we have a really great opportunity with that here in June of 2025 if you are here listening to it this year. But Virgil, again, thank you. I am so thankful you are part of my world.
Well, you're the best. Thank you for having me on your
Thank
show. And
you.
I think I'm going to return the favor, and you're going to get a chance to find
Yeah.
yourself on the verge.
Oh, I would love it.
We'll
That would
put
be my
that.
greatest
We're going
honor.
to put that in the spring. I can feel it.
I love it. I'm excited. All
Well,
right, y'all. Well, we will see you next week. Thank you so much, Virgil.
my pleasure. Thank you for having me.